Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. We're glad to have you here. Hope you're feeling good. It is Thursday, so you know what that means. The week is almost over. I'm sure you're probably in a good mood about it. I am definitely in a great mood today, except it's friggin' hot outside. I don't know what it's going to be like wherever you're at watching us here today, which like 99% of you are in the United States. But if you're in the Midwest today, God, it's hot. 106 degrees is what it's going to be in Missouri today, where I'm from. What's it going to be like where you're at today? And what are you doing to beat the heat? Love to hear from you about your plans today, or what are you doing for the weekend? 4th of July holiday coming up, Libertarian Independence Day, or Libertarian Christmas, as I like to call it. Really excited for that. My mother-in-law is coming in town. She's going to spend the holiday with us. And we haven't quite decided what we're going to do yet, but I'm sure we'll probably get some fireworks, at least at a minimum, and hanging out at our house. Maybe we'll get invited to our friend's house if we have any real friends, that is. The Wake Up America show is always open to your comments on the big news of the day and what you think we should be talking about. If you think any of the topics that I'm about to list that we're going to talk about today are not the big story. I always try and hit the big stories, but sometimes we like to switch it up a little bit and do fun stuff. Today is one of the days when I'm actually going to start the show with what I wouldn't really consider the biggest news of the world. Mostly because it's summer and a lot of people are off and there isn't a lot of big news, if you will. So the big news are like big movies. So this top of the show today, we're going to talk about Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, which has its world premiere today. I know a lot of people are probably going to go see it over the weekend, and I'm not. Rawr, grumpy old man now. But I'm going to explain to you why I'm not going to go see it. I may not go see it at all, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. We'll play the trailer. And for those of you who are watching us on YouTube this morning, just so you know, if you are watching this on YouTube, not live, but later, which we do actually get a lot of people who watch the stream after the fact, you'll probably not be able to see the trailer because I'm going to play it here in the stream. It's got some copyrighted music in it. And a lot of times, even if I'm just playing a trailer, you would think that they would want you to play the trailer for a movie, that, to help advertise, but they don't care. They just they slap you with a copyright. And so that means that I'll have to cut it out later when they give me the little, not strike, but when they give you like the copyright hit. So if you're listening or watching the Wake Up America show later, on YouTube, just so you know, it's going to get cut out. But for those of you who are on Rumble who are watching us later, they don't do that kind of stuff to us because it's nice. We like Rumble over there. Good morning, by the way, to all of our Rumblers. I love Rumble. I don't know why, but it's just really starting to grow on me. You can text the show today with your thoughts at 573-319-1586. Kermode Bear over on Rumble. He's like #1 Rumble fan. Says that he's choking on Canadian wildfire smoke outside. Yeah, thanks, Canada. What's hilarious about that is I read a headline this morning that said that the Canadian wildfires are racist, essentially. Oh, everything is racist. Everyone's a little bit racist. That's me. Studio 314 says he's not interested in the new indie movie. It's funny because it's like I'm fascinated by it, but I'm also disgusted by it. And we're going to talk about that. And another topic that I would literally never talk about in any other scenario, but because I'm going to be talking about Indiana Jones, I'm going to bring this up and I'm going to talk about aging stars, because apparently Karen Allen, who is in the new Indiana Jones movie, and was obviously in the original Temple of Doom and then the Crystal Skull movie, they posted this article today where they showed aging star Karen Allen is unrecognizable, and it kind of pissed me off because I'm just like, yeah, she's totally recognizable. She looks like Karen Allen. She looks just like Karen Allen, who's old. But the reason why I'm going to talk about that, even though I ordinarily wouldn't, is because there was another story the other day that I almost talked about for some reason. The Erica Eleniak. Do you remember the Baywatch star from the early '90s? Beautiful blonde Erica Eleniak. Well, there was a story that came out the other day. People were so mad about it because they were talking about how she's unrecognizable and she's fat now and she's got all these tattoos and she doesn't look like she did in the 1990s when she was a Baywatch star and all this stuff. And for some reason, that story just really stuck with me. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Aging stars, Hollywood, Harrison Ford, Indiana Jones. We're going to talk about that this morning. Will Run Riot is already all over it with the narrative that I'm running with today. He says, "I've heard the rumors are true. Indy is emasculated and shoved aside to make way for Phoebe Waller-Bridger, who is terribly miscast for an action adventure lead." Yes, Will, thank you. Do you mind letting me do the show, Will? If you don't mind, please, thank you. Just kidding, Will. Appreciate your comments. If you're commenting, make sure that you're also clicking that like button. We appreciate you. Terry Miller says, "Rise and shine from mid Missouri. Not too much haze here." Yeah, it's not too hazy here in mid Missouri, but it is. Apparently, there is wildfire smoke in northeast Missouri. So if you're a northeasterner, Nemo, then that's what we call it. We call it SEMO, Nemo, and that's it. SEMO and Nemo. We don't have nicknames. We have Northwest Missouri, but it's NWMO and SWMO and Midmo. We have Midmo, SEMO, and Nemo for Missouri. Octogenarian Jones. Can't wait in the opera. You guys are all already over it. I haven't even gotten there to the topic yet. I'm just dithering. Do you remember dithering when you had when GIFs would dither? If you know what I'm talking about when I say GIFs were dithering, then drop it in the comment. First person today gets 10 internet points if you know what I'm talking about when I say GIFs were dithering. If you know what I'm talking about when I say GIFs were dithering, you're officially old. We'll talk somebody who's not officially old. Today is going to be like I'm not trying to like objectify them or anything, but like today is going to be the Wake Up America show of beautiful women. We've got 3 women on the show today. Can I get an amen? 3 lovely libertarian ladies. I found all 3 of them, gentlemen. I rounded them all up, and they're on my show. Actually, there's 4 of them because, of course, my wife. And maybe your wife's libertarian. Who knows? But is she a smoking hot, redheaded libertarian woman like my wife? I don't know. Maria Buenano. She is kind of a smoking hot, redheaded libertarian, but I think she dyes her hair. I don't know. Maria, if you're listening right now, just teasing. Hope you don't mind. Just being silly. Maria Buenano will join us this morning at 7:30 to talk about the lab-grown meat. Will you eat the meat? Eat the meat. Eat the lab-grown meat. You know what it is that they thought that the bugs, they're like, they're not going for the bugs. They don't want to eat the bugs who live in the pod. So I know what we shall do, Hans. We shall give them the lab grown meat. Give them the lab grown meat. You know what's lab grown and delicious that you should eat though? My buddy John Burke's Shell Shock CBD products. More on that later. We'll get to that in a minute. Did anybody get the dithering? The GIF is dithering. Does anybody know what the hell we're talking about this morning? Chris Morrill says almost binders full of women. Yes, not quite Mitt Romney-esque yet there. Will Run Riot, 3 lovely libertarian ladies. Yes. Will Run Riot says dithering is still a thing in Photoshop. Is it? I didn't realize that. And I do use Photoshop a little bit. I use a Photoshop Express. It's so much better and faster and easier. And with Photoshop, it's like a blank canvas, whereas with Photoshop Express, it just like we rock and roll and we're ready to roll. All right. So the lab meat. Will you eat the lab meat? It's grown in the laboratory. It's the same thing, right? It's delicious. Eat the lab grown meat and live in the pods. No, you don't want to live in the pods, just eat the lab meat. If you don't eat your meat, you can't have any pudding, John. Well, you guys are already off to the races this morning. Nice and early with the jokes. I love it. Elon Musk training to fight. Did you see this? Elon Musk is actually bringing on. I think this is going to happen. And somebody sent me a DM with this story this morning as saying that, it was my buddy Jesse from Kansas. He's like, dude, I think we are living in a simulation. Yes, if so, I really think it is the best possible timeline because just if Elon Musk fights Mark Zuckerberg, what if one of them dies? what if Elon Musk like just clobbers Mark Zuckerberg and Zuckerberg just like eyes rolls back in his head? Which speaking of dies, I think Madonna may have died. Not trying to just spread rumors or anything like that, but I'm reading the New York Post this morning. They said that they found her unresponsive. Yeah, Madonna intubated in ICU. Why are we talking about celebrities so much, Austin? Get off of my back. Sometimes I just want to have some fun. Not everything has to be mega serious and Nikki Haley, but oh, good God, Austin, turn that down for the love of God. Are they giving me an advertisement in Portuguese? Português, tudo bem? Muito bem. Yeah, a little Portuguese there for you. Madonna has been rushed to a hospital after being found unresponsive. Apparently, a bacterial infection had come down with a severe case of Madonna. Oh, just kidding. Hope the bacterial infection is okay. The problem with the lab grown meat is that it lacks all the delicious suffering. Very funny. Good God. Why don't you guys, you know what? We need to do a podcast for the Cantina crew because you guys are funnier than I am. Rare Camellia says, when I was a kid, my dad used to always say meat would be grown in a lab, and we always joked about it. Guess he was right. There we go. John Rail says he's 50, but he feels 21. There you go. Good. I'm glad that you're feeling good today, John Rail. Nice to have you here. Weird how no one asked for lab grown meat, says Katie556. I know. No lab meat, says Bell R, my lovely friend Richard Bell. Good morning, Richard. I hope you're doing well out there in the free state of New York, right? It is a free state, isn't it? Nelson65 says he's older than me and he has no idea what dithering is. Dither, hither, quither, and bither. It's dithering. I'm not quite sure I still understand it, but the closest description I can get is it was when the GIF was like dithering was that it was like loading and it was like bringing it like all the layers of the image. Austin, what are you doing? Quit screwing around. Talk about the news. Okay, Indiana Jones. Why am I not going to see? We don't forget Rare Camellia at 8 o'clock this morning to talk about Donald Trump won't debate Ron DeSantis. So you get your real news there at 8 o'clock. And then at 8:30 today, Daniela Pensack to talk to us today about what are we going to talk about today? Daniela Pensack. I don't know. Maybe Austin, where's your head at? Where's your head at? Where's your head at? Oh yeah, the Orcas. Today is going to be kind of a silly show. Have you seen this? The killer whales have been ramming human boats. Are there any other kind of boats, Austin? They're all boats are human boats. Orcas. Austin, have you been eating John Burke's Delta 8 CBD gummies this morning? No, I have not. Although I'm sorely tempted at this point. Why is Donald Trump not Trumpy Buddha not? There we go. Point towards the front. Dithering is a great word aside from Photoshop. Yes, it is, Camellia. A lovely word. I do like it. Dither, hither, quiver. Doesn't really rhyme there, does it? Kermode Bear says he won't get the brain chip. See, I might not eat the grown meat, but I will get the brain chip. Unless it costs $3,500, in which case I really don't care for it. Joni Rankin sending me DMs. She's sliding into my DMs. What's up? How you doing there, Joni? She says, I'm going to tell my grandkids this was the Elon Musk versus Mark Zuckerberg fight, and it's a picture of Napoleon Dynamite slap fighting with his brother Kip. That's actually very funny. Thank you, Johnny. You can slide into my DMs too on any of my social media platforms at AP4Liberty. That's AP, the number 4, AP4Liberty. All right, I'm going to go ahead and start playing this trailer for Indiana Jones. And just a reminder to all of our YouTube friends, if you're watching us later, you are not going to be able to see or hear this trailer. More likely, I'll have to kill it and I'm going to go ahead and mute the first part of it because it starts playing a song, which most of you should know, Sympathy for the Devil by the Rolling Stones. All right. And then I'll start the audio when they actually start talking. Here we go. All right. I'll just sing it. Ooh. Please allow me to live myself. I'm a man of wealth and taste. All right, so here we go. No, don't sing that song. Shut up.
I'm retiring.
Well, in that case, what are we drinking?
Same for the goddaughter.
Dad told me you found something on a train during the war. A dial that could change the course of history.
Why are you chasing the thing that drove your father crazy?
Don't move.
We need to get out of here.
Stop!
Sorry.
Helena!
Dr. Jones.
Pause. All right, let's pause for just a second. So, probably one of the only reasons to go see this movie, at least from everything that I've read of the film, is the technology that they have used to make Indiana Jones look younger, because apparently in the film they have flashbacks of Harrison Ford's character from back in the war and during, obviously when he was fighting Nazis. That was during World War II, or some of it was actually like pre-World War II, like right before the war, if I remember correctly. But technology that they used to make him look younger was from years of Lucasfilm's vaults that they where they had footage of Harrison Ford, and they took it and superimposed over his body for these shots so they could show him looking younger. And I have to say that honestly, that is really a compelling reason to go and see the film, if it wasn't for all the compelling reasons not to go see the film, which I don't plan on doing at this point. I'm not saying I'm never going to see it, but I'm not going to rush out and pay full price for a ticket to go and see one of my favorite characters from Hollywood getting kicked around and sidelined. So let's continue.
Get him. Hitler made mistakes, and with this, I will correct them all.
You stole it.
Then you stole it.
And then I stole it. It's called capitalism.
Yikes. Steal it. It's you steal. I stole it. You stole it. I steal it. It's called capitalism. No, it's not, you dumb bitch. You stupid Hollywood fucks. It's not capitalism when you steal something. That's actually called communism and statism. And why do we have to be lectured? Why do we have to be lectured by our inferiors? The only thing that these people in Hollywood are good at are visual effects. They can't write scripts anymore. They can't write good characters. Sorry for the language. I apologize. Just this stuff pisses me off so much because they're taking a character that we love. And of course, what are they doing? Injecting woke politics into it. And I'm not, frankly, I don't want to give them my money. And so I'm not. I plan on not giving my money, just like I'm not giving Bud Light my money. And just like I don't go shop at Target, right? I don't spend, if I don't have to, I don't spend my money. I don't give my enemies my money. Okay. It's not to say that I don't buy product from China from time to time. This is probably made in a communist country for all I know. I haven't checked the liner. But if I can consciously avoid it, then I do. Indiana Jones and the golf cart of destiny.
Fasten your seatbelts. There might be some turbulence.
You've taken your chances, made your mistakes, and now a final triumph.
Indy! Give him hell, Indiana Jones!
A few times in my life, I've seen things. I've been tortured with voodoo. Been shot 9 times, including once by your father.
Sorry!
But I've been looking for this all my life.
Such a shame, guys. Such a shame to take such a great franchise. But you know what? They're desperate. They're out of ideas. And they think that they can go and revive these franchises, bring back these old characters, and then swap them out with Mary Sue, which is what she is, right? So if you don't know the term Mary Sue, it's a phrase to denote that denotes a woman who is completely sinless, who is capable of absolutely everything, who already has all of the tools that she needs to be able to solve whatever problem she's in, whatever problem arises. A perfect example of this would have been Rey from the new Star Wars series, where she already knows the Force and she can use it perfectly and she doesn't need any training. She can do absolutely everything. I contrast this with characters like Luke Skywalker from the original Star Wars series, where he had to be trained. He made mistakes. He learned from his mistakes and he came back a master Jedi. Like they Hollywood has forgotten the typical story arc for a character, which is, the age, the beginning of the age, the conflict, rising tension, challenges, misfortunes, denouement, right? And then, the falling action, rising action and falling action. It's just all this building up of action the whole time, and then it's only action. Now, I don't know, you probably didn't watch this movie. I watched the new Dungeons and Dragons movie just because I'm honestly a Dungeons and Dragons, not a fanboy, but a fan of Dungeons and Dragons. So I thought, hey, let's watch this new movie. And I heard some people say that it was entertaining. But I have to say, as somebody who is, I won't say I'm a fighter or anything like that, but I mean 15 years of martial arts might qualify me to be something like that. And I will say that after watching Dungeons and Dragons, and then you see these fight scenes in Indiana Jones, they're effing boring. And I know I'm actually going to get a lot of trouble when I say this, but I actually get bored with John Wick as well. I know that it's kind of like the big masculine, machismo films these days is to watch John Wick and all this stuff. But after 10 minutes of these wild kinetic fight scenes where you can't really tell what's going on, and the camera is shaking all over the place, and it's just these really complex fight scenes, whoosh, 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 whoosh. Like, it was cool when The Matrix did it, and we really had, to have that ooh and ah experience. But it's like everything is The Matrix now, right? I watch Dungeons and Dragons, and these fight scenes just drag on for so long, and they just don't advance the plot. It's just supposed to be this stunt work, this crazy choreography. And honestly, I'm not really all that impressed. I'm impressed with the skill of the martial actors, but I'm not impressed with it in films where you know what Indiana Jones's best fight scene is, in my opinion? Indiana Jones's best fight scene is when the man approaches him, I think in Raiders of the Lost Ark, approaches him and starts swinging the sword, and Indiana Jones pulls out the gun and shoots him, right? Uses his wits. It was the best fight scene ever as a kid. You loved it. You laughed because it used his brain. And nowadays, it's just brainless. The action is just totally brainless. And you could say that about maybe some of the 1980s movies, but I would even say that Bloodsport is a good example of good fighting that's not brainless. Because when you watch Jean-Claude Van Damme in Bloodsport, the fights are all different, and you see different forms of martial arts in Bloodsport, and different fighting styles and different characters, versus when you watch these movies now, it's just like he fights 100,000 clone androids, and it's in the exact same way. And then John Wick, same thing, uses the same moves, blah 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 blah, shoots. It's just so boring to me. And I think that the characters are just really one-dimensional. I know you could say the same thing about Jean-Claude Van Damme and Bloodsport, but again, these films had other aspects to them that made them interesting and exciting and moved the story forward. And I don't know, maybe this is just me being an old fuddy-duddy, but frankly, I just find a lot of this crap to be boring. I'm not giving Hollywood my money this weekend to go see Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, because I don't want to lecture about how capitalism is theft from a bunch of communists, and I don't want to see them destroy a character that I really love. I went and saw Kingdom of the Crystal Skull in theaters, and I regretted it ever since. So I'm not going to do this. Okay, I'm not going to do this to myself. I'm not going to destroy a character that was beloved to me and that I grew up loving. What about you? Love to hear from you. Send us a text, 573-319-1586. When we get back, will you eat the meat, the lab-grown meat? We'll talk to Maria Buenano about that, and we're going to segue a little bit into moral virtues and freedom on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. It was 1946. A battle was fought, not overseas, but right here on American soil. The Battle of Athens, an intense struggle against election fraud and for the rights promised by our founding fathers. Driven by the Second Amendment, ordinary citizens stood tall and fought back. Help us expose this momentous battle of integrity and bravery. Your support can make a difference. Visit givesendgo.com/bleedamerican and pledge your support, because we believe in the power of truth, the strength of unity, and the spirit of we the people. Let us not forget, we bleed American.
Fire.
Hello, this is Barack Obama, and let me tell you why Austin Peterson stinks, and you should never pay attention to anything that he has to say. First of all, he's a libertarian, and we all know libertarians are idiots. They don't realize how important government is to everything that we do. I recently became aware that Austin has opened up a libertarian shop at apforlibertyshop.com. Now, I'm asking you as a personal favor to me that you never ever visit apforlibertyshop.com. With all of the great Liberty merchandise there, the last thing that we need to do is to get people spreading this message around the country, because then they might start thinking that they don't need government. And that's the last thing that good Democrats like us want. So if you love democracy, like me, and hate freedom, then don't visit AP for Liberty Shop. Like I said, whatever you do, do not visit apforlibertyshop.com. I'm Barack Obama, and I approve this message.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
I would remind you that extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice.
It is better to settle these matters in the courts than on the streets, and new laws are needed at every level. But law alone cannot make men see right.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Looks like Maria is running a couple of minutes late. No worry. I'll go ahead and intro this segment for you. It's the title of the podcast today. If you're enjoying the content that you're watching, make sure that you click that like button and subscribe to the channel down below. We're super grateful for all of our new fans. You know what's really interesting is that I have like 35 or 37,000 subscribers over on YouTube. And you'll get like, 30, 40 people average or so watching the show in the mornings. And I have over on Rumble, you can see the subscriber count. It's like 542 followers, 542 subscribers over on Rumble. But we get more people watching us on Rumble. Isn't that wild? I think YouTube is just a lot harder to it's a lot harder to get people to watch on YouTube because there's probably just a lot more competition. But like, I think it's also to a mindset, like people who are on Rumble want to be on Rumble and want to consume the content, whereas YouTube is a lot more passive. It's kind of like, yeah, you've got YouTube when you're bored, maybe you'll turn it on. But I feel like people who watch Rumble shows like tune in because they want to watch these shows on Rumble. Just a mindset thing. I'm not sure. Let me know. Looks like Maria is logging on. We're going to talk to her a little bit about this next topics. A nutritionist is warning that we don't know enough about the lab-grown meat that was approved by the FDA. She says she'd rather eat her shoe than lab-grown meat. Last week, the USDA announced it approved the sale of lab-grown meat for commercial sale. In an interview with the New York Post, Diana Rogers, who is a registered dietitian and author of the book Sacred Cow, The Case for Better Meat, warned of the unknowns regarding lab-grown meat and advocated sticking to the natural form of meats and food. She says, "I'd rather eat my shoe than lab-grown meat. McDonald's is still better because the meat is a better option for vitamins. That's interesting. Two California companies called Good Meat and Upside Foods are now approved to sell chicken from animal cells in the United States. The U.S. is just the second country in the world after Singapore. It's actually kind of a good sign to allow the commercial sale of lab-grown meat, which is, I have a lot of respect for Singapore. Maybe that's just me. They also call this cultured or cell-cultivated meat. So Rogers told the New York Post in this interview she's concerned about the lack of publicly available nutritional information regarding lab-grown meat. When asked whether lab-grown meat was healthy or not, Rogers said, honestly for her, she says, "We just don't know. I have yet to see a life cycle assessment on the production of it," she said. "We don't have any public data." So what is this stuff? Well, according to the company Good Meat, it's lab-grown meat is made from the cells of chicken, salt, and a base of soy and wheat. That's interesting. So they say that they can't provide a nutritional label right now because the product will only be served in restaurants, not grocery stores. Nevertheless, the company said that its product was protein rich, had essential amino acids, and was antibiotic free. Well, yeah, so they don't really have to introduce antibiotics into something that can't get sick because, if it's never introduced into the wild or even into an environment where it comes into contact, if it's not alive at some point, which does it count as alive? I mean, it takes live cells and creates the chicken or the beef or whatever it is to grow the beef. Now here's the thing, and I know that probably your initial response to this is going to be like mine and a lot of other people's, is just to be ick. But the interesting thing about this technology that is kind of a sidestep from this is that I think this is how they're going to be creating human hearts and human kidneys and organs that will be able to be grown in a lab from cultures in order to do organ replacements, which actually think is really interesting. And now, let me ask you something. If you're dying because you can't get a replacement kidney, would you accept a lab-grown replacement kidney? Is a really good question. I think probably the majority of people, if you're on your deathbed and you need a heart or a kidney or a liver or a lung or something like that, and it was grown in a lab, are you really going to turn something like that down? Now, is that really the same thing as, oh, something, eating something, consuming something? I don't know. Is it worse? Honestly, I'm curious to hear your thoughts about this one. I really need some community feedback on this. Send us a text today at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. Let us know what you think about the lab-grown meat issue. And my next guest, Maria Buenano, who's a regular contributor to the Wake Up America show, is filing in now to the show. We're going to get her on here in about a minute, as soon as she gets her audio situation sorted out. Looks like she's got a headset over there. I can see her, but you can't. We just got to get her audio, and once we do, then we can get her on the program. But I want to get some community feedback on this one. The text line is 573-319-1586. So let me ask you, if you won't eat the lab-grown meat, would you accept a lab-grown organ? Right? So would you, if you would not eat the lab-grown meat, would you accept a lab-grown organ? I'd be honestly curious to hear your things. Maria, can you hear us on the show? Are you there yet? Okay, cool. Yeah, I can hear you. They can't hear you yet, so I'm going to go ahead and bring you into the show, to the program, so that people can see your lovely face and hear your voice. How are you, Maria? Welcome to the show.
I'm doing well, Austin. How are you?
Good. Thanks for coming on today, Maria, to talk about the lab-grown meat. So I just gave a little bit of an explanation of the back history of this story, and I was talking about this nutritionist who was saying that she says she'd rather eat her shoe than lab-grown meat. How about you?
I can't help but agree. I'm not really interested in anything a scientist can grow in a lab. Putting it in my body just doesn't seem like the right call, but that's just my opinion.
Okay, so what is it that's so concerning to you about this?
What's concerning to me the most is the premise that not only are God's creatures killing us and killing the planet, but that the reason behind why they're killing the planet is the same reason why we're killing the planet. So, what is stopping these scientists from saying that we're the carbon that needs to be eliminated, or that we're farting too much or eating too much, and that that's a problem for them? So, that's something that concerns me, as well as the potential health risks of consuming something that was lab grown. We've seen what GMO foods do to the human body, and it has not really proven to be a nutritional solution.
Why do you say that?
Well, because when, for example, for corn, once they started genetically modifying the corn and the tomatoes, it polluted all of the natural tomatoes to the point where if you were to go to a seed bank and try to find an original tomato, it doesn't exist. And the same thing with soy and the same thing with corn. And now we turn around and it's in everything. You can't find, it's very difficult to find something without either soy or corn in it. Yet it's so genetically modified that we have no idea whether or not these genetically modified foods are increasing autoimmune diseases, increasing diabetes, causing other health issues. And we see this especially among the ADHD and autism spectrum communities because they're very sensitive to foods. And a lot of times, those types of foods are the ones that aggravate them the most, which we see a rise in these types of disorders, and we see a rise in genetically modified foods and other types of synthetic foods and chemicals, and nobody makes the connection between all these health issues and altering the very fabric of nutrition.
Now, Maria, talk to me about the lab-grown meat approval process here. I mean, a lot of people, probably not you and I, and maybe not a lot of our listeners, a lot of people have a lot of faith in the government's process, approval process, and review process before food makes its way to our plates, right? We know that if you want to, create, if you want to grow a cow and have steak, it's got to go through a very laborious process, which people like Thomas Massey and others are actually trying to reduce by passing the Prime Act, for example, so that we can get a little bit closer to a farm to table experience. But in regards to the USDA's approval process, it seems as if the lab grown meat goes through far less scrutiny than the meat that we eat in our hamburgers every day.
Right. I have also seen that to be the case. Of course, I am not, a scientist studying this meat, but based on the research I've done, it does seem to be very motivated by the climate discussion and not necessarily by solving health problems or finding the right solution for Americans. And it does seem concerning that health is kind of on the back burner with these testing, where normally the FDA is very, very strict, and other government organizations are very strict with these types of testing, especially with supplements and other health foods. So you'd think that they would be very strict about growing meat, considering the variables that could occur from that. But I think that most of the scrutiny and the lackadaisical process is directly related to the climate change conversation and their motivation to push this along as quickly as possible.
Some interesting comments from our listeners this morning, and you can send us a text as well at 573-319-1586. One of our listeners, Matt Unruh, because I asked this question, Maria, right before you came on, and I'll have you answer it too in just a moment, is that, this lab grown meat is kind of sideways, it's just a sidestep from another lab grown meat that people are looking at now, which is our lab grown internal organs. We'll get to that in just a second. But Matt Unruh texted and says he won't eat the lab meat because he doesn't need it. But if I need the lab grown organ, I may take it to live, depending on my age and mindset at the time. Another listener texted in and said, Quest said, I'd gladly take a lab grown organ. I'd also be happy to eat actual meat grown from animal cells, but not something with a bunch of filler in it, which is, as it sounds like these current products are. Um, and Cheeky Mare says that I have been diagnosed with Crohn's disease. My GI doctor told me there's a raise in cases after fast food restaurants that are in area. I've drastically reduced my intake of processed food. So help me understand this, Maria. The lab grown meat. I mean, it's meat, right? I mean, are there fillers in it? I mean, are they not telling us exactly what the makeup of this stuff is?
Based on my research, it seems like the meat is mostly meat and that they're not putting as much filler as, say, a lot of the fast food chains when they put oats and other things in their food to make it more digestible and easier on the stomach. That's the main reason, besides being cost effective, that a lot of these fast food chains put those fillers in there. But what's different about the synthetic meat is that the fillers and the chemicals they put in there are mainly focused on preserving the meat, because it's not going to have the same shelf life as regular meat. So they're going to have to put things in there to make sure that it lasts. And it actually, a lot of the stuff they put in there too is for the texture, so that it tastes and feels like meat, because they can't manufacture something without chemicals that is the same as regular meat. So
If you're
it does
just
not
tuning,
surprise me at all that there's an increase in Crohn's disease and other digestional issues as we're rolling out these experimental foods.
If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, I'm Austin Peterson. We're glad to have you here on the show. I'm speaking to Maria Buenano. She is a contributor to the Wake Up America show. We're talking a little bit about a news story where the United States Department of Agriculture has approved the distribution of lab-grown meat. So they say it's real meat, right? So it could be digested the same way as traditional meat. They're taking what they call monocrop plant sources, taking them into the factory and using high energy processes to convert them into meat. So the FDA has been given the green light for lab grown meat for these two companies, and it can be sold commercially, but it will not make it to the grocery stores yet because of the high cost. It will reportedly cost upwards of $20 per pound when it comes to stores. Not all countries are approving this. Singapore and the United States are doing it, but I hear that Italy has actually banned it.
Yeah, a lot of countries are not really keen on the whole idea of manufacturing meat in that way. And also, there is some kind of implications of what they can do, like you said, with organs and other meat sources to create, I guess, whatever they want in a lab. If they can manufacture tissue like that, it's very suggestive of other things.
Do you think it should be banned?
I don't think it should be banned, but it is kind of suspicious to me that the same people that are arguing that you're the carbon that needs to be emitted and that there's no farms that are spontaneously burning down and there's no war on farmers are also manufacturing the one thing that would make us not only unable to produce our own meat, but criminals, like thought criminals, for attempting to. It's a kind of a war on meat. There's a war on meat diets, and I think that's suspicious at the very least.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm very skeptical with the government. And honestly, I really don't think that the government should be involved in regulating our food supply at all. But, it's sort of an interesting phenomenon where you'll get a lot of people on the right who don't trust government, but they want government to inspect people's meat and foods. And what a lot of times, the libertarian solution to things like this is to let the market decide. But I do get a lot of libertarians who are like, no, it shouldn't be allowed. It should be banned, or they'll praise Italy for banning it or things like that. And here's the thing: we don't know whether the meat itself is good or bad. Maybe it's a solution to world hunger. Now, I know you were kind of chiding GMOs a little bit earlier. I happen to be a big fan of GMOs personally because I think it's been one of the scientific breakthroughs that has helped us to feed the third world and helped us to lift people out of poverty because of the massive amounts of grain that we can now produce versus on the same amount of land that we didn't used to be able to produce. So I'm one of those libertarians who I don't come from the Robert F. Kennedy Jr. wing of the libertarian movement. I'm actually a big fan of Norman Borlaug, and I get in trouble with my libertarian friends when I say that I actually use Roundup and like Norman Borlaug and think he saved a billion lives. But that's a minority opinion amongst the right, and I'm also a minority on the right in that I'm actually not a big religious person. But I think you are, Maria. Am I correct in saying that are you a practicing Christian?
Um, I guess it depends how you say practicing. I'm not religiously a churchgoer, but I do follow Jesus, and religion as the Christian religion is very important to me,
Mhm.
and religious freedom is important to me.
Absolutely. Well, so this should be an interesting conversation because you also brought up another topic to me that I was reading about last night and this morning from an online, I guess he's a pundit online. His name's Anomaly. He goes by the name of Anomaly. And he tweeted this little post about moral values, which you found interesting enough to bring to me. And he says that freedom and liberty are amazing, but America was also built on discipline and Christian values. Republicans lose because they say they want freedom, but then they cry when gay people bike naked. That's technically freedom. They're free. You're looking for discipline and moral law. What was it about that tweet that you found interesting, Maria, that you wanted to discuss?
Well, personally, I think he couldn't have put it a better way. It really is about whether or not a party supports enforcing their moral law or whether or not they believe that that's something that the family structure perpetuates. So a lot of conservatives are looking for daddy government to swoop in and mandate their religion as law. And there's a difference between accepting that there are conservative values, Christian, Judeo-Christian values that shape this country, and believing that we should be enforcing those with an iron fist and that we should eliminate no-fault divorce. We should eliminate like the 19th Amendment. Like, there are people that believe that women should not have the right to vote because the Bible says that women can't be pastors. So I personally don't agree with that. I take a very libertarian stance in this, but I do think that freedom is worthless if there is not an educated and moral citizenry, and that if conservatives spent more time instilling their values in the next generation and creating alternatives for education, that we wouldn't be in this mess in the first place. If we were teaching the Constitution, if we were teaching the history that shaped this country and the ideas behind it that are very new, very unique, and very beautiful to this country, there wouldn't be so many people that don't see America as this unique beacon of hope, but rather this evil tyrant that needs to be taken down a notch.
That's interesting, but my view on that last point that you made there is the reason why so many overseas despise us is because everybody hates number one, baby. No, it doesn't matter if you are the winner. You're always going to have a chorus of people who love to see you get taken down. If there's one thing people love more than a winner, it's to see winners fall from grace. Is to see the celebrity start to get fat and to start to break down and to because the moral weakness in our fellow man is such that they can't stand to see someone of virtue, or at least of perceived virtue, be successful and to be a leader, because I think people really enjoy seeing someone fall, and then of course after that they love a redemption story as well. But in this tweet that you post here, where he talks about you're looking for discipline and moral law, who provides the discipline?
Fathers.
Explain.
When the father is in the home, every member of that home generally behaves better. And we can see this throughout time. Now, we have a fatherlessness epidemic in this country. Feminism and communism has completely taken over our culture and demonized men and fathers in every way. And we wonder why the children do not want to listen. They do not want to be disciplined. They're entitled. They seek easy gratification, easy solutions. Like, big daddy government, just come save me, because they don't have that father in their life to step in and help them, to teach them discipline, to set them up for success, like my father did, to teach me that it is not the role of government to nanny you and to make sure that you are doing your homework. It's your job, and it's my job as your father. And there's a responsibility and empowerment that comes from that. So my view on it is that Americans are not empowered, and they're seeking empowerment from the government. They're seeking power from these intersectional ideas, from their own identity, and not from the family, not from their culture, not from their morals, not from their principles. And we see this on the right and the left. It's become a club of I hate you more, no, you hate me more, like the Spider-Man meme. Everyone's just pointing at each other and nobody knows what each other stands for.
You make a lot of really great points, Maria, and I wish I didn't have to wrap this up here, but I definitely do. I'd like to give you the floor for one last question here before we let you go on this discussion of moral values and things like that. And I'd like to invite you to consider that, in terms of moral values and principles, that it's possible that there isn't one end all be all solution to these, that, the experience of life that we have is what gives, winning and losing, succeeding and failing. Like there is, I guess I sometimes I feel the need to challenge those who think that one single moral authority that exists is going to be able to be a problem solver or solution. I guess what I'm trying to say, or what I'm trying to get at, and I'll give you the last word in responding it, is the idea that morals, values, principles, and ethics can come from one single solitary system of thought or belief that's kind of like a ready bake oven system of belief. Whereas the reality is that life experiences and a plethora of books rather than one book are really the way to divine our, if I could use the term like divine our moral values from. How would you respond to that?
I would say that I'm in no way saying that the Bible should be our moral code, but I do think that the founding fathers set up the principles that founded this country on purpose. I think that they got those ideas not just from the Bible, but from other countries, other ways of instilling values in citizenry and in culture, and that took great thought, and that should be appreciated above other relative morality that we see. And this idea that morality is subjective is somewhat true in the sense that we're all unique and we all have our own unique ideas, but untrue in the sense that there is a natural law, there is an observable moral structure that we can see from the beginning of human time, and we can observe the ways that cultures deteriorate once those morals are twisted, perverted, changed. And a lot of that does go back to the family and how connected we are as a society, and how we view the things around us and the gifts that we are given. Instead of blaming someone else and viewing life as a zero-sum game, we view life as we're lifting each other up. If you win, I win. That's a huge discrepancy in moral value that we see in this country. There's a huge battle over just that idea and many others that are very basic. So I would say that we can take what we can out of every book, every system, but the founding fathers did create something beautiful and unique, and that should be appreciated.
I cannot disagree at all with you, Maria, so I won't. Although I would love to share with you a book. If you wouldn't mind, email me back where I sent you that Zoom link to get on the show this morning. I want to send you a copy of a book that I think you'll really like, and it's going to blow your mind. It's called A Renegade History of the United States. I recommend it to all of my friends, especially my Christian friends. It's a provocative perspective on America's history that claims that the country's personality was defined not by the ideals of elites and intellectuals, but those who have lived on the fringes of society's history, like slaves, immigrants, and gangsters who have challenged the conventions of their day. I think you might find that fascinating, Maria Boinano. You are a regular guest on the Wake Up America show, and a terrific guest at that. Thank you for your time today and for being so generous with it, and we appreciate you very much. We'll have you back again real soon.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Maria. We love Maria Boinano. Give her a round of applause. What do you think? Send us a text. Will you eat the meat? Will you eat the lab-grown meat, or live in the pod, or eat the bugs? I certainly will probably wait on the lab-grown meat. I'm not saying no, because again, I know my fellow libertarian friends are like, they're down on the GMOs. I'm kind of for the GMOs. I looked into it for a while, and there are some negatives to it for sure. And big business is not your friend always, but I would invite you to consider that Norman Borlaug, Borlaug, if you Google him up and read about him a little bit later, saved 1 billion lives with genetically modified organisms. You're like tuning out, you're like, boo, Austin, boo, support the Robert F. Kennedy Jr., support the Democrats, ban the GMOs, and ban the lab-grown meat. Oh, by the way, we're libertarians. No, you're just a garden variety Democrat from the 1960s, which is a lot better than the Joe Biden progressive leftist wokies. I'll admit, I'll take you. But I'm the only real libertarian. Well, maybe my next guest is a little libertarian, but not as libertarian as me. Camelia Peterson to talk about Donald Trump. He won't debate. He's just not a master. He won't debate Ron DeSantis and all the other people who run for president of the United States. Why not? Come on, don't be such a weenie. We'll talk about that when we get back on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
American conservatism is distinct, like America is distinct from the United Kingdom. American conservatism's roots comes out of the Wild West, out of pioneerism. The difference between American conservatives and European conservatives is that Americans are cowboys. We are that God, guns, gold, and girls. It's wild here, and we should stay that way. We shouldn't allow a European version of conservatism to come and infect us here. We like it wide open spaces here, deep in the heart of Texas and all that.
Hey there, it's your favorite Vice President Joe Biden. I wanted to talk to you today about the Wake Up America show, the best source for all your political news and commentary. But before I get started, let me just make sure I have all my notes in order. Okay, where was I? All right, the Wake Up America show. It's a great way to stay informed and make your voice heard. Boy, what was I saying again? Oh, right. The Wake Up America show. It's important that we all stay engaged and knowledgeable about what's going on in our country and, the thing. But hold on, where was I going with all this? Oh, yeah. The Wake Up America show. It's a fantastic resource. And if you really want to make a difference, man, you can sign up to be a monthly donor at wakeupAmericaShow.com/support. Now, where was I? Oh, that's right, the Wake Up America show. So if you want to stay woke and support a great cause, head on over to wakeupAmericaShow.com/support and sign up to be a monthly donor today. And if you're feeling generous, you can even give a donation in my name. Thanks for listening, and keep on keeping on, America. Come on, man.
George. Thank you for watching the Wake Up America show with my dad. Today, I'd like to share with you 3 reasons why you should visit Dad's online store at apforlibertyshop.com. Number 1. You can get exclusive freedom-loving merch designed by AP himself or me mum, Steffi. Liberty Laura has made some designs as well, and blimey, they are great! Number 2. Most of these products are so wicked that they aren't even allowed to be advertised on Facebook or Instagram. Modern machine guns and a proper keychain. Plus, our Grover Cleveland t-shirt is so spicy apparently that leftists on Facebook specifically banned it from appearing on the website. Number 3. You're supporting liberty lovers just like you. Spend your money where you earn it, and you help me Pops build a community that supports what you believe. Bloody hell! This commercial is running too long. Gotta run. Bye now. Don't forget to visit apforlibertyshop.com. That's apforlibertyshop.com.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Are you enjoying the show so far today? I think that we've had some pretty good topics and a great guest. Today is like the show day of like beautiful libertarian women, and my next guest, of course, is no exception. But before I get to her, really briefly, I thought you might like this. I've got like a new camera that I'm experimenting with and a new camera angle. And I thought maybe it'd be fun for you guys to just kind of see a little bit of the behind the scenes of what it looks like in here. Because, usually you get to see me in all my beautiful libertarian male glory right here where it's like the set. And I made it look pretty and stuff. You don't see all like the bits and bobs and things like that, which many of you, by the way, this is what you paid for. So I thought I'd give you guys a little bit of a view here. But yeah, check this out so you can see. This is what it looks like here. Yeah, and it looks like a little bit tattered and frayed, if you will. But this is what it looks like when you do a production. If you don't have a huge budget. Like there's this studio, and honestly, I've thought I would move into the studio, but it kind of looks just so clinical. I don't know. There's something about this that's like a little bit more raw. Feels a little bit more fun, like my personality. If you put me in the studio with all those lights and things like that, I feel like it would just be, I don't know, too sanitary. Would you really want me to be like an anchor, like news at 11, blah, blah, blah? No, you can watch that crap on your mainstream idiot box. No, you turn on the smart box. For guests like Camelia Peterson, who are joining us right now on the show. Good morning, CJ. How's life up in Iowa?
Good morning. It's stormy.
Stormy weather. Glad to have you here, CJ.
Thank you.
Glad to have you, and excited to hear your thoughts on Donald Trump refusing to debate.
Well, the more I thought about this, I was like, this is really, this is just kind of Donald Trump's, that's what he does. That's what he's done every time, right? I was thinking back, I was like, haven't we been here before? Haven't we done this, had this conversation? Because, that was the whole thing back in 2020, which I guess, in some ways was also in the middle of all the COVID stuff. So that's why in the general election, they weren't having elections and he refused to do the online streaming debate. Oh, I'm sorry. They were having elections. I say elections, debates. But he also, when in looking back, refused to debate in the Republican primary as well. And actually, though, I think that was partly because the RNC just said they were not holding any debates in that Republican primary because he was the anointed one. And I had even forgotten who primaried Trump last time. And then I got to looking and saw that it was Joe Walsh and Bill Weld. I was like, oh, man.
Which, if you know anything about Joe Walsh, he's like the quintessential never Trumper. And then he's got, if Trump derangement syndrome has a patient zero, Joe Walsh is patient zero. And then Bill Weld was, of course, the Libertarian Party's vice presidential pick in 2016 when I ran against Gary Johnson trying to unseat him. And they were all about how libertarian Bill Weld was, blah, 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 and how I was this, interloper. I was the Republican, blah, blah, blah. And then he goes and he runs for president as a Republican, like immediately after. It was just, Bill Weld, and there was no reason to debate them because obviously, as the sitting president, it made no sense. It's the same reason why Joe Biden's not going to debate Robert F. Kennedy Jr., no matter how big he is in the polls. But I mean, Ron DeSantis is polling.
Sure. And I mean, and for Trump, this is like even back in, 15, 16, you never knew if he was going to actually participate in a debate then. And a lot of times he didn't. But right now he is assumed to be the front runner. And so if you're the front runner in a race, you really only have something to lose when it comes to a debate.
Somebody just texted in right now. Quest said, any idea why RFK pulled out of the Moms for Liberty gathering? Trump and DeSantis are giving keynotes and Nikki Haley will be there. Seems like a missed opportunity. That's news to me. Had you heard that, Camelia?
I did not even realize that RFK would go to a Moms for Liberty gathering. I mean, I know where he is on the vaccine and people's hopes that he's all of a sudden pro 2A, but I have not heard where he is on education. Is he pro education freedom? Like, I have no idea because we don't hear anything about those topics. We're only hearing about, the vaccine stuff and, all those kind of things. But, and I will say, I just saw somebody, speaking of RFK Jr., I saw a younger guy last night who went to, I guess he had a town hall of some kind. And he had a 2A question, was kind of hoping to see if he would really be as pro 2A as he's kind of come out to be lately. And lo and behold, not so much.
What do you mean?
I mean, when RFK answered the question, he was basically like, yes, we need to regulate AR-15s or guns or whatever. I mean, his answer was disappointing. So, but I mean, unsurprising to people who aren't,
I was actually
fangirling over
surprised.
him.
I was actually surprised when I ran for president in 2016, just how much libertarians even really do cave on the gun issue when they find a candidate that they like for other reasons. Now, with Gary Johnson, it had a lot to do with like the left libertarians that had really like been, taken over the Libertarian Party up until that point. But what I have found is that like if you are kind of like a conspiracy type, even if you're a leftist, like libertarians will forgive your anti-gun stuff. They'll forgive like they don't care about school choice or different things like that. So like libertarians will care about the issues until they get to a politician that they like, and then they're just like everybody else. They get stars in their eyes. And I mean, I remember arguing in 2016 at the presidential convention, and somebody asked in the chat, they're like, who said that Bill Weld was a libertarian? Gary Johnson said that he was a libertarian. He said he was the original libertarian. So he was a libertarian before all of us were. So I mean, the problem is that a lot of people on our side of things, and Trump, Trump people are no different, right? When it came to his position on guns, is that you'll find that even the most prolific, people will say, "Oh, the Second Amendment, come Mullen LaVey, come and take it." But ultimately, the reason why we lose our rights is because they support politicians who don't stand for those issues, really. But they're good on maybe one or two things that they like.
Sure, I think this is the hero complex that humanity just seems to have. That's our tendency, and it is the few skeptics who tend to. I mean, we've all been there, and we've all done that with somebody to a certain extent. But hopefully, we also learn and do better. But yeah, I think people find that one thing, and they they kind of put their hopes of what they hope a person will be like onto that person and make that assumption about them, even
Yes.
if that's not reality. Because
Yes.
you want to believe these good things about someone, so you project them onto them.
Right. That is a perfect explanation of it. God bless Camellia Peterson. This is why we have her on twice a week. She's the only guest that we have on twice a week because her point of view is just valuable. We should pay her one day. You can text the show at 573-319-1586. If you're watching us today over on Rumble, we've got a nice big audience, 6, 7, 8, 900 people watching us combined over on Rumble and YouTube. Hell yeah.
Fantastic.
That's kind of our average now.
Yeah.
The nice thing about having so many people is that there's a chance that some of them might actually click the like button, and some of them might even click the subscribe button. Come on, do it. Don't be cruel. Hit that like button wherever you're watching us right now if you're enjoying the content. Camellia Peterson always does a great job. She's on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 a.m. Central Time. And even when she's up in Iowa working right now, trying to get Ron DeSantis elected, then no,
no.
no.
It's too early for that.
It's too early for that. Okay.
It's too early to pick a candidate. But
yes.
I will tell you, though, speaking of, Ron DeSantis and Trump and this whole thing, of course, Iowa's first in the nation for all this stuff. And it's really been a different experience knocking doors up here and talking to voters. What you hear people, see people say on social media and the internet is so completely different than what you hear when you're actually talking to people on the ground in communities. And we have been coming across gigantic never back down pack door hangers on doors for Ron DeSantis. So they have a good ground game already going here in Iowa. There's ads running all over the place on primetime television. But Iowa is a little bit of a different experience for me in that, Missouri has open primaries. So the data, as far as who's Republican and who's Democrat is always a little bit iffy. But here, they have registration and you can register independent. And we have run across a lot of independents. And really the questions that we, are asking are kind of, just where you are on issues, what, how is your government impacting you? What's most important to you? And then also, kind of what candidates are you leaning toward? There's a whole lot of independents that I've come across, people who are like you and I, who don't fit into a neat little box on the left or the right. And, I'll have people that are hugely pro-life. They they don't care for Trump, they have all of these same, conservative values, but they will want you to do something about the guns. I've actually heard that several times. But it's been really interesting. There is a lot of concern about they don't like Trump's style in bringing him back in. So I will be interesting to see how that comes out.
Yeah, my dad is kind of the same way, right? He's super conservative. I would say maybe even libertarian leaning to an extent, but and he liked what Donald Trump did for the economy, which I think is obviously Donald Trump's strongest talking point is what he did for the economy. But they're really tired of the antics. I mean, it is exhausting, right?
Yeah.
And the thing with Donald Trump is that I really don't appreciate is that he demands that we are all paying attention to him and that he is the center of our world 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I just really, so when I see the governor of Virginia, Glenn Youngkin, talking about running, or I'll tell you what, I read Mike Pence's speech or his column on Reason Magazine the other day, his defense of free markets, and I was kind of like, make presidents boring again. I would actually really like a president that was competent, that did a good job, that ran the economy well, a good Republican, very conservative, right? That I didn't have to worry about, antics or, porn stars coming out or, stealing documents and crap. I wouldn't, it would just be nice for a president that I forgot they even existed. The big thing with Donald Trump is that he just demands our attention all day long, and it's exhausting. I know a lot of people have time for that, and despite the fact that I make a living and a career in politics and things like that, like I got other shit to think about and worry about, yo. You know?
Right. And if your focus is on the person all of the time, people are not thinking about the policies, and they think that this one person is going to be what makes their life better instead of looking at the nuts and bolts of what are these policies that they are implementing that are affecting you. And that's how we get to this, common good conservatism where all of a sudden, maybe we need to rethink the free market because, how do you
Has
feel
outcomes that
about
don't
this?
it has outcomes that make me feel weird. I
Right.
saw I saw a transgender person and I got a little horny and now I'm scared.
Oh, Lord.
No, seriously, I think I heard Blair White talking the other day about how like her inbox is full of like conservatives who like DM her about how like she makes them horny.
There is a certain amount of truth to, "Methinks thou dost protest too much."
Yeah, yeah. There's a keen
I'll tell
interest
you,
there.
there is something, somebody said to me, and I wonder how much this is in the back of people's minds, but it is rumored, that if Trump doesn't get the Republican nomination, that he will just go independent. I don't I'm a little bit skeptical about that, but, Trump is kind of a
I mean,
I don't
I'm
know.
not necessarily opposed to it because I honestly think Donald Trump, he kind of pulls a lot from the left. I think people would be surprised to hear me say that. I know you make that face, but the reality is the reason why there is this rethinking of free markets on the right is because Donald Trump brought so many disaffected Democrats, who the blue collar workers and things like that. He brought so many of them over into the Republican Party, on a cultural play, but they kept their old belief in economics, right? They kept their old belief in unions and tariffs and all this kind of stuff that was really the province of the left, right? Free market economics is largely, this is the province of the right. You don't hear leftists advocating for free markets or capitalism or things like that. So I honestly think that if Donald Trump ran third party, he'd probably still get a lot of votes from the Democratic left because think about it. There are a lot of Democrats who don't agree with woke politics. There's a lot of Democrats who are religious. I mean, think about all the African Americans who will absolutely vote for Donald Trump. Do you think that the majority of African Americans support free markets? I mean, call me racist. I don't think they do, right? Just like I don't think the majority of African Americans believe in gay marriage, right? Is that racist for me to say? I don't think it's racist to just say something that is true. Most African Americans don't support gay marriage and they don't support free markets. But would they vote for Donald Trump? Yeah, absolutely, because jobs, one, and culture, two. So I think Donald Trump, if he ran independent, would probably get a lot of votes from former Democrats. You disagree?
I don't know. I think it would really depend on how he adjusts his messaging. I don't think he could keep going forward with the same thing that he's been doing. I do think that his bombastic style does also alienate some of those same people who may hold those values that are Democrats. The concern that somebody brought up to me the other day was that if he runs independent, that it will then split the vote enough that it will just hand it to the Democrats.
Well, now here's the thing. What if he runs and he said some nice things about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. just yesterday? What if he runs independent and his VP is Robert F. Kennedy Jr.? Then what do you think happens?
Yeah, I don't know. I've been seeing people saying that, it's kind of like their pipe dream. And I don't know, but somebody has pointed out several times that RFK Jr. has said that he will not be doing that. So I don't, who knows?
Bullshit. I guarantee you that at the end of the day, when Robert F. Kennedy is beginning to fade back into irrelevance again, if there is an opportunity to grab back at the limelight by partnering up, if it's in his own individual self-interests, I'll bet you dollars to donuts that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. would jump on an independent ticket with Donald Trump in a heartbeat. Heartbeat.
Yeah, I would say so too. Yeah, I think there's no doubt about that. I mean, I don't know that he's that principled.
Tell you what they should do is they should run on the Libertarian Party ticket.
Well, yeah, then you think so?
Yeah.
So I did see somebody did polling the other day that kind of compared what was that thing that you tweeted with all of the numbers with Ron Paul and you, and was RFK in there?
Yes. It was Donald Trump, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Joe Biden, and me. And I said, "Who would you rather vote for?" And I won.
No way.
Well, it would be quite embarrassing if I lost my own poll, obviously, for my own supporters. But I also I actually do kind of get the inkling from that poll that there is a bit of a hunger for something else.
Yeah. I just saw something fascinating I hadn't realized was going on. So Pork Fest has been going on in New Hampshire, and it's the big kind of libertarian gathering there. And they, Vivek Ramaswamy is there.
Yeah, I saw that.
And has been and he was talking about the little clip I saw, he was talking about, they asked him what he would do about Ross Ulbricht. And so he's talking about Ross, been talking about Assange, Snowden. Then he lists off some names, as far as pardoning that I had not even heard of. But anyway,
Ross Ulbricht.
Really interesting. Yes. And he, he has no chance, but maybe he'll go to the Libertarian ticket.
Okay, if you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, good morning. I'm Austin Peterson. You're listening to my friend Camelia Peterson, who's not related to me. Her last name is spelled S-O-N, and I'm an S-E-N. You can text the show today at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. Doug H. says, dollars and donuts. Who wants to bring me a filled maple long john? Is that filled with maple, or is that maple on top and it's filled? Because if it's maple on top and it's filled, I'm going for it. But if it's filled with maple, that's too much maple for me. Dash says, AP, you are the best. Oh, Dash, we appreciate you. Love you. Thank you very much for that. If you like the show and the content that you're watching this morning, make sure you click that like button and subscribe. Gary Sign, or Jerry Sign, he hasn't told me how to pronounce it yet, said, Austin, I didn't know I forgot to hit the like button. So that's why I remind you every once in a while. So hopefully I'm not boring you with this. Camelia, wasn't there something else we were going to talk about? DeSantis or something like that? Didn't we have another topic on this? Oh, yeah. So how do we broach this topic? So obviously Trump and DeSantis people are at war with one another. They're at each other's throats. And yesterday I lost a lot of respect for this young man who's this big DeSantis supporter online when it came out that he's been saying all these anti-Semitic things. And it was obviously it was a hit job from from a guy that you and I hate, like the head of the New York Young Republicans. We won't say his name because it makes me want to vomit when it crosses my lips. Right. But I mean, you got to say good hit piece on this man because it revealed all these texts where he was talking about, and it's this Hispanic guy. Maybe this is the face of Hispanic. Maybe the Hispanic white supremacist thing is actually got a little bit of merit to it. But he's talking, basically saying all of these anti-Semitic slurs, talking about how the Jews corrupt culture, standard fare for the Nick Fuentes fans and the alt-right of the
Right.
last 5, 6, 7 years. But he says, "Oh, this is a time of my life that a different season, different period of my life." It was 2019 that he was saying
Yeah,
these things.
4 years ago. I mean,
Yeah.
you usually don't do away with, those kind of prejudices and that sort of topic. And I'm a huge believer in redemption and that people can change. But, I don't know. I think that I mean, to me, it sounds like that he, is one of those people, like a lot of people that kind of get, they get sucked into these fads and these trends. And honestly, we were talking about this a little bit earlier. There seems to have been this rise among the alt-right slash Groypers, like, these people kind of when 2016 and Trump started. And I think he probably started out as, a Trump fan or, a Trump supporter, before he was a DeSantis supporter. I have seen some, fairly prominent conservatives come out and defend him and say he's a good person. There were some things in there though that I just, it's hard to defend those in any context. There was this really weird, these weird things that he would say about preserving white people in the US because we're what, brought prosperity or whatever. And, and it's in there, it's in the rest of, the people's best interests if we, preserve white people in America. And it's like, that's really, really odd. And like you have some weird white subservience issues going on there.
Yeah, it was odd because he was talking about how the white people aren't going to stand up and save their own race, so we have to save their race for them. What the hell? Like the strange, like the tinge of white supremacy amongst the young people on the right is like semi-ironic among for a lot of them, but for others, you could tell they really mean it. But what's hilarious is that they're not white; they're Hispanics.
Right.
So I don't really know how to react to this kind of stuff. But one thing that I do see that is near universal on the right, although not entirely universal, is the rampant anti-Semitism. If there's one thing that I can't go a single day without seeing on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, it's some kind of Jew hatred somewhere, everywhere. And don't get me wrong, I made Jew jokes when Roseanne Barr made the Holocaust jokes and comments and things like that. But jokes are jokes. Uh, but it just seems like a lot of these people really aren't joking, Camellia, and it's kind of disturbing.
It is, and it really is correlated a lot with this rise in national populism. And when the guy that you don't, the piece that you're not mentioning is the head of the New York Young Republicans, and he is
Mhm.
just a lovely gem of a guy.
Yeah, I'm
Not
sure I'm sure he's never said anything about Jews in private.
No, I've tangled with him a time or two before, and he's not a nice person, and
He's a
he's
sleazeball.
really just flat out awful.
Mhm.
But the thing is that there are a group of in that age range, there does seem to be this rise in that sort of thinking among this national populist movement. We've got a young representative here in Missouri who is in those circle of people, and there are also people who are like JD Vance acolytes, and they are the same people that are questioning the value of the free market and even questioning education freedom. The rep here in Missouri, has been known to say, he voted against, open enrollment. And basically, part of the deal was not only, do they want to keep their taxes or whatever, but also they like how much taxes they have because they have a high tax rate. Like, what the heck? But he also was like, if you open it up to everybody else, then those other kids, we don't want those other kids coming into our school. Like, I'm sorry, but it's like if your reason for not expanding school choice is like you don't want those other kids coming into your school, you just might be,
You
a
just
little bigoted.
You just might be a little bit, but you got to. The funny thing is that now, like the right is so triggered by that word because, like, the left uses it, overuses it, and calls everybody that. But I mean, if you're an anti-Semite, then you are a bigot. Duh, right? Roseanne Barr is not. Obviously, she's being funny. But the kids who go out and talk about how we need to protect the white race on their behalf, and that Jews corrupt everything they touch might be a little bit bigoted, right?
Just
Right.
yeah,
Camellia,
no.
I got to go talk about orcas ramming boats because it's funny and it's the end of your segment. God, Darn it. That's so much fun, though, Camellia. I wish we could talk for 2 hours, 3 hours. One day we will. Camellia, one of these days, the Wake Up America show is going to be raking in so much money that, and people are just going to be sending super chats and buying stuff from the shop and buying gold from us that I'm going to give you your own show. All right. So, you can,
Right.
all right. The only way we can make that happen, though, is if people donate some super chats. So let's kick it in there on YouTube. Camellia, thank you very much for your time today. Anything else you want to say before I let you go?
No, but when you talk about giving my own show, it reminds me of this demotivational meme I saw. It was like, you're more than enough. Like, really more than enough. Dial that shit back.
Camellia Peterson, she's in Iowa today. Thanks so much for getting up early, Camellia, and good luck on your mission up there. Have a good one.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you very much. What do you think of Camellia Peterson? Do you like the Wake Up America show? Then why have you not clicked that like button yet? What about subscribing to the channel? You know how awesome this show is? We're going to have Gavin McInnes on this show on Friday, and I'm going to try not to fangirl later when I interview him because he's going to be on tomorrow for Family Friday. We'll just say he's not family, but we'll just say he's the godfather of the modern right. So make sure that you click that like button and subscribe. And if you'd like to see Camellia get her own show one day, the only way to do it is to make me rich. Why don't you drop a super chat or a donation today, become a monthly subscriber. You get 20% off apforlibertyshop.com if you're a monthly subscriber. And all of our 4th of July collection, 20% off right now. I know you're like, well, I won't get it in time for the 4th of July. Yeah, but you were going to wear my American flag tennis shoes all year anyway, so why not get them at a 20% discount? Check it out, apforlibertyshop.com. I'm going to go get the lovely Daniela Pensac, another smoking hot libertarian chick on this show. I didn't even know there were this many in the world. Well, they're all here on the Wake Up America show at wakeupamericashow.com.
Good morning to the Cantina crew. This is Elon Musk, the CEO of Twitter. And I just want to say thank you for watching the Wake Up America show. I've decided that Austin Peterson will be the new CEO of Twitter.com, effective immediately. First thing to do, though, is I've got to go and blast off into space.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government. Get off my back. Get out of my pocket. And let me have more control of my own destiny.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. What's going on? How you doing today? Feeling good? Thursday? Nice. Yes, almost a Friday. Thank you to Exteel Paprika. First time I've seen you here. Dropped us a nice super chat tip in the tip jar. Said, great guests on your show, and I like the topics. Well, thank you very much. I think you're going to like my next guest as well. The next topic's a fun topic, not quite political, although I'll probably segue to some political theme here in just a few minutes because, that's why people watch the Wake Up America show. But they definitely watch the show because of great guests like Daniela Pensac. All right, boys, put your tongues back in your mouths. She's got an MBA. She's a field coordinator for Turning Point USA. It's big brain time with Daniela Pensac. Good morning, Daniela.
Good morning, Austin. Thank you for having me this morning.
Is it hard being taken seriously, like with your master's degree? Like, because you are super intelligent, because you are so beautiful?
Is it hard to be taken seriously? I guess it depends on the person. For the most part, no. Once in a while, you'll come across a special individual that won't, but it is what it is.
I mean, you're blonde, you're beautiful, right?
Yeah.
You're well spoken and all that kind of stuff. So like they don't try and like kind of be like, oh, quiet like girl, all that kind of stuff. People don't try and shove you to the side or take you less seriously.
Not really. I mean, if it is done, maybe it's in a subtle way that I just don't perceive. But personally, I haven't noticed it as much.
People seem to think, oh, Austin, you just have all these very attractive women on your show because it's good for ratings. Well, yes, duh. But also, they don't just get on my show if they're just attractive because they have to be wicked smart. And Daniela Pensac is wicked smart. She's a Turning Point USA field coordinator. She's got her master's degree, and she gets up way early to be on this show. Corey C says, no simp zone. Okay, you got me there. No simping today, gentlemen. All right, Austin, take your own advice. This story you brought up to me, I've been tracking it for the last week, and honestly, it's blowing my mind because I've been watching all these shark videos and things like that. I'm really into sharks lately, and I watched this video of orcas eating a great white shark. It's pretty wild. But now the orcas, and I was like, oh, the orcas, how come they don't attack us? And then like that week, apparently orcas started attacking us. What the hell's going on here?
Yeah, well, we've been seeing it more in the news now, but actually this has been going on since 2020, these particular incidents. So a group of orcas, and it ranges anywhere from 3 to 15 identified orcas have sunken around the Iberian Peninsula since 2020, and they have damaged many more ships. But the way they do this is by dismantling the ships, by attacking the rudder. And researchers have been following this for since 2020, the last few years, and they are pretty confused as to why this is happening. There are multiple theories as to why. The two main ones is that the first one is that this is play behavior. So it's not uncommon for juvenile orcas to entertain themselves. I mean, they are pretty smart. They're related to dolphins. So they will try to entertain themselves, and if something sticks and they find very fun, they'll just keep doing it habitually. And this is primarily a group of juvenile orcas anyway. So that's what researchers think it is. The other theory, and the more interesting one, is that this is an act of retaliation. They say that this is perhaps a way of the orcas of retaliating. They've had bad experiences with ships before. And what's really interesting is that there is one adult female involved in this group of juveniles, and they're saying that perhaps since orcas tend to be really matriarchal, they are following this one adult female, and she's kind of instructing them to attack these ships. So once again, we see feminism rooting societies, even orca societies, to this day.
This is it. This is the only show that you're going to hear a woman come on in a news talk show and have them say that orca feminism is ruining society just like it is here in the United States and around the world. If you're enjoying this commentary, make sure you click like and subscribe to the channel because we do have Daniela once a week on the show every Thursday morning at 8 a.m. Central Time. And she's on the West Coast, so she has to get up to 2 hours way but effing early to get here on the show. So to give her a thank you by clicking like on that stream you're watching us on this morning. So it's being directed by a matriarch, by a woman, but the behavioral analysis is that they're doing what she's told. Is it only happening in this one part of the world?
Yeah. Yeah, it's Iberian Peninsula, so it's around Spain and Portugal, and it's primarily happening in the Strait of Gibraltar. So, and the female, I'd be hard pressed to call a female orca a woman, but this adult female
What is an orca
orca.
woman?
Yeah, exactly. That's the question of the generation right now. Researchers have called her White Gladys. So they have identified, like I mentioned, specific orcas that are contributing to this, and it appears, well, they're theorizing she could be instructing these juveniles to do it. We're not entirely sure, but that's just what researchers and people who know a lot about orcas, what they're suggesting, because like I'd mentioned, they tend to be matriarchal. The juveniles are just probably are being led in this operation.
Why do you like this story so much, Daniela? What made you want to bring it up?
Well, due to the Ocean Gate tragedy, which is quite unfortunate, the sea has been in the news for quite some time now during this week. And I guess what has happened is that this orca story has been popping up in tandem with the Ocean Gate story quite a bit, since the sea is on everyone's mind right now. And I just find it interesting. I also find animal behavior interesting in general. I think it's actually fascinating. It's probably the most interesting topic to be next to politics.
No, I agree. And sometimes it's nice to get away from politics, especially in this summer right now when there's not a lot going on. If you're enjoying the content this morning, make sure you click that like button and subscribe to the channel that you're watching us on this morning. And send us a text at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. Daniela, you and I have been having this conversation a couple of times. We talked about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. You pointed that out to me this morning when I told you I might segue to it. But I did a little bit of a poll the other day. I asked, who would you rather vote for, Donald Trump Jr. or RFK? RFK won that poll. I did a poll that said, who is more libertarian, Donald Trump or Robert F. Kennedy Jr.? Robert F. Kennedy Jr. won that poll. Would you agree with the results of that poll? Would you say Trump is more libertarian, or RFK is more libertarian than Trump?
That's a really good question, and I think it's still, because, to be fair, we haven't heard a lot about them. I mean, we're still waiting on more candidates to come up, but I would say that that's possible. Donald Trump has a history of kind of like mixing up his viewpoints and positions in the past. So, and as someone that is fairly involved in in her local GOP and in the Republican Party, I would be hard pressed to say that I support RFK as of now. However, if it does keep coming out that he does appear to be more libertarian in his principles, I mean, my hand, that have forced my hand to vote for him. I just think it's a little too early to make that conclusion as of today.
Who do you like in that's running for president, if anybody?
You know, I as far as the GOP goes, there it's, you see, it always is, picking the lesser of the evils. If anything, right now I'm likely leaning towards either Truck or Vivek. I think Vivek's really interesting. He's a really interesting figure, and he did make a lot of good points, but he's not really popular, and in all honesty, he's not going to make it through the primaries. So I mean, if it does come down to Trump and DeSantis, which unfortunately is the case, I would likely lean more towards Trump at this point.
A lot of people in Turning Point USA, I think, agree. There's at least amongst young people, I see there's still kind of that loyalty for Donald Trump. Would you say that that's probably the consensus amongst that organization?
Yeah, I would say so. As far as like the Donald Trump DeSantis issue, I honestly, from what I'm experiencing, what I'm seeing among the Turning Point, the students that are involved and the employees, it seems to be pretty split. And there's not a lot of internal infighting about that, but it's just that seems to be split in terms of opinion. But I don't know. I would say when it comes down to conversation with my colleagues, it really comes down to those two choices for president. And I don't know. I can't say that Turning Point in general prefers one candidate over the other in terms of those two. It seems pretty evenly split in my experience.
Yeah, I have to say that even though I think RFK is a little bit kooky and I can't really stand the sound of his voice, he is starting to grow on me from a policy perspective because a lot of the things that he's saying policy wise, I agree with. Like, I'm not blind to the things that he's said in the past about, people who are, against climate change action or statements that he's made about gun control. But I kind of
Mhm.
like that he's in there mixing it up and making people feel uncomfortable because the majority of the people that RFK is making upset right now are the standard party line Democrats who don't think that
Yeah.
there should be who always are clamoring for more democracy, but who don't plan on allowing any debates or democratic action when it comes to their own primary, which I find fascinating. So there is kind of like it's kind of like and I don't really care for Donald Trump that much, but I appreciate the insanity that he drives the people that I can't stand to, right? So, unfortunately, it's a very low bar because there isn't a presidential candidate who's running right now that I'm just like, wow, this is actually a great presidential candidate. I really think they're a good representative for our ideas. I would really wholeheartedly support them. I don't see anybody like that. Maybe the closest would be Vivek, but even Vivek has got his flaws. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. And yeah, RFK could very well be, I mean, depending on how things go, he very well could be the Democrat Party's own Donald Trump, someone who tries to stand for the everyman and tries to speak out against the establishment. And maybe they need a figure like that. And if things go well on his part, it could be the split of the Democrat Party. But I have high aspirations maybe. But yeah, he is kind of like this wild card candidate like Trump is, which is to be fair, which is why RFK is appealing to me to some degree. But I mean, it would be really interesting. It would be great if really those are the two presidential nominees to nominate from. That would be really great, especially on the debate stage. But again, it's too early to tell. We'll see how things go. But he certainly is a wild card candidate, and I can appreciate that. And I can appreciate that he's talking about topics that establishment types, especially the Democrat Party, just don't want to touch. Unfortunately, that may make him nuclear going down the line, but we'll have to wait and see.
I'll be curious about to see what that happens. You can text the show today at 573-319-1586. We'd love to hear from you. Daniela, is there anything else that you'd like to share with us and our listeners today before we let you go until next week?
Well, thank you for the great conversation. Nothing of substance. I will say, though, follow me on Instagram and on TikTok. Both are under the name official Daniela Pensac. And then follow me on Twitter. It's Pensac Daniela as is the @ that you can find me at. So follow me on those platforms. I post a lot of memes. I'd love to see you there.
Daniela, what kind of a name is Pensac?
Oh, well, it's Ukrainian. I am Ukrainian. From what my father has told me, the meaning of it is barley farm, like the barley that it's like a type of oat, like barley oat, I
Yep.
think. So I come from a long line of agrarians, you could say.
Daniela Barley Oat. Thank you very much for your
Correct.
time today, Daniela, and make sure you follow her. You can see the spelling of her name, Pentsak, so that you can find her on any of those social media platforms. And if you're really into conspiracies, her TikTok is full of them. She's got all kinds of good stuff over there. Daniela, thanks for your time today. We appreciate you, and we'll look forward to seeing you again next week.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Have a good day.
Thank you. That's Daniela Pensac. She is a regular on the Wake Up America show, and we're super grateful for her time. Did you like Daniela Pensac? Yeah, super. Daniela Barleycorn. We'll have to call her that going forward. She has a great demeanor, very calm, says Nomad John. I think she does too, yeah. What else did I prepare for you today on the show? Let's take a look. Oh my God. Oh my God. Not a damn thing. Guess I'll have to figure out something else to talk about by the time we get back from the commercials on the Wake Up. Oh, you guys, I'm excited. Gavin McKinnis is going to be on the show tomorrow, Family Friday. I'm going to interview him here like an hour from now. It's going to be a pre-record, so just trying not to fangirl right now. It's just like, Kevin McGinnis. We'll be back with more on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
American conservatism is distinct, like America is distinct from the United Kingdom. American conservatism's roots comes out of the Wild West, out of pioneerism. The difference between American conservatives and European conservatives is that Americans are cowboys. We are that God, guns, gold, and girls. It's wild here, and we should stay that way. We shouldn't allow a European version of conservatism to come and infect us here. We like it wide open spaces here, deep in the heart of Texas and all that.
Hey there, it's your favorite Vice President Joe Biden. I wanted to talk to you today about the Wake Up America show, the best source for all your political news and commentary. But before I get started, let me just make sure I have all my notes in order. Okay, where was I? All right, the Wake Up America show. It's a great way to stay informed and make your voice heard. Boy, what was I saying again? Oh, right. The Wake Up America show. It's important that we all stay engaged and knowledgeable about what's going on in our country and, the thing. But hold on, where was I going with all this? Oh, yeah. The Wake Up America show. It's a fantastic resource. And if you really want to make a difference, man, you can sign up to be a monthly donor at wakeupAmericaShow.com/support. Now, where was I? Oh, that's right, the Wake Up America show. So if you want to stay woke and support a great cause, head on over to wakeupAmericaShow.com/support and sign up to be a monthly donor today. And if you're feeling generous, you can even give a donation in my name. Thanks for listening, and keep on keeping on, America. Come on, man.
George. Thank you for watching the Wake Up America show with my dad. Today, I'd like to share with you 3 reasons why you should visit Dad's online store at apforlibertyshop.com. Number 1. You can get exclusive freedom-loving merch designed by AP himself, or me mum, Steffi. Liberty Laura has made some designs as well, and blimey, they are great! Number 2. Most of these products are so wicked that they aren't even allowed to be advertised on Facebook or Instagram. Modern machine guns and a proper keychain. Plus, our Grover Cleveland t-shirt is so spicy apparently that leftists on Facebook specifically banned it from appearing on the website. Number 3. You're supporting liberty lovers just like you. Spend your money where you earn it, and you help me Pops build a community that supports what you believe. Bloody hell! This commercial is running too long. Gotta run. Bye now. Don't forget to visit apforlibertyshop.com. That's apforlibertyshop.com.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. I'm having an absolute blast. I love this show. And it's so much fun because every month that I come in, I can see the progress of how many views we get, contiguous views during the Wake Up America show. And to see the audience over on Rumble growing so nicely, it's a real treat. It's a real treat. One of the ways that we grow, though, is by you clicking that subscribe button over there. If you're watching us on Rumble today, and we've got about 56 people watching us right now, and you like the content that you've heard this morning, do us a favor, click that like button and subscribe to the channel so that you can get updates when we're going live, Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Time. And we'd love to see you again. It's so much fun. And then we've got, of course, got the Cantina crew. John Turner just dropped $5 in the tip jar. Thank you, John. Just remember, if you guys make me rich, I'm going to go hire Camellia and give her her very own talk show. We'll put it on right after mine, and then she won't have to worry about money anymore. She'll have her own talk show. She'll have her own 2-hour show right after we'll have the Wake Up America show, and then we'll have Good Morning Liberty or something like that for Camellia right after mine. But you got to make me rich. So John Turner dropping $5, helping to make me rich. Thank you very much. I'll give it all to Camellia. I am doing my best to build a network, and I am working on a documentary film project right now called Bleed American, which is a story about the Battle of Athens. If you haven't heard about that, this project is a very exciting new first step for the Wake Up America show and my production company, because as most of you know, when I started this business or started the Wake Up America show, I was phone calling many of you to become monthly sponsors, because I can ask on the show, to you, say, hey, please become a monthly sponsor. And if I had, 1 million followers and things like that, maybe a percentage of them would sign up. But for me, life has always been very hard. I've always had to work harder than everybody else to get by. And so I made phone calls to supporters, selling them on the idea of a libertarian daily wire, that I would start with the Wake Up America show, build it up, hopefully build more shows give Camellia her own show, right? I can get there. And I also promised to those monthly supporters and donors, for those of you who got phone calls from me to ask to become monthly sponsors, you heard me sell you on this idea that we would become a libertarian daily wire, that we would expand into full-length documentary and eventually film production in the medium and long terms. Well, the short term, of course, was the first year. The medium term now is the second year. We're coming up on our very first anniversary of the Wake Up America show. Thank you. And in the second year, we will have our very first full-length documentary production. And I'm nervous about it because it'll be my very first time ever producing a full-length documentary. I've done 1-minute long history videos, and of course I do my 2-hour-long live talk show in the morning, but never a full-length documentary about the Battle of Athens. Will be my very first foray and venture into documentary filmmaking. And I'm crowdfunding it right now. I'm trying to raise $10,000 by the end of July. I've raised $2,175 so far, which I'm very proud of, but we're not there yet. And I just want to remind those of you who are the monthly donors to the show that your money obviously is going to a good purpose. It's not being wasted, and it's going towards exactly what I said I was going to do. I told you I was going to start producing documentaries, and I am fulfilling my promise. Thank you. What a Peterson promises, a Peterson does. And I'm excited to begin filming on that project. If you'd like to have more information about the Battle of Athens documentary, I've got more information on it on givesendgo.com right now. givesendgo.com/bleedamerican. I'm dropping it in right now at the over on Rumble. If somebody can drop it over on YouTube, I'd be super grateful for that. Andy Opperman just dropped $10 in the tip jar. Thank you, Andy. Appreciate it. Yeah, once July is over, then it'll be August, and then once August is over, it'll be September, and that's our 1-year anniversary for the Wake Up America show. So I just want those of you to know who have been monthly sponsors and contributors to the show that I have been doing exactly what I said I was going to do. I hope that you feel like you've gotten the value for your money, because I know it's easy for people who are in my position to just take the money and run, or squander it or fritter it away. But the majority of the money that and my wife will confirm this, majority of the money that brings in for the show, I reinvest back into the show and reinvest back into production. And like Kermode Bear says, if you donate enough, you can get Austin and Steffi to sing for you. Exactly. So tomorrow we might do that because it's Family Friday. It's going to be a very special show. My wife will be on the show. And then Gavin McInnes will be on the show, but he's not related to us. It's not Family Friday, but we'll call him the Godfather. So we'll say the Godfather is going to be here with us tomorrow. So anyways, I just wanted to give you an update on that. Check out the Give, Send, Go link and take a look at the video that I produced for the documentary, which actually I think I might have pulled up. It's a 30-second long video. Let me actually go ahead and play it for you guys. Hopefully I can inspire you guys to donate to the documentary to help us to get this thing put together. It was 1946. A battle was fought, not overseas, but right here on American soil. The Battle of Athens. An intense struggle against election fraud and for the rights promised by our founding fathers. Driven by the Second Amendment, ordinary citizens stood tall and fought back. Help us expose this momentous battle of integrity and bravery. Your support can make a difference. Visit givesendgo.com/bleedamerican and pledge your support, because we believe in the power of truth, the strength of unity, and the spirit of we the people. Let us not forget, we bleed American. Appreciate y'all very much for checking that out. And if you like the idea of the documentary and you want to be a part of it, everybody who donates to the Bleed American documentary will be listed in the credits. So you do get some credit for that. And of course, it goes to a good cause to help spread the message of American freedom and to talk about election fraud to a larger audience, which I think will be very popular next year during the upcoming election season. All right, one last thing before I let you go. 3 little tips for you before we end the Wake Up America show from yours truly. Take a listen to this. Hey guys, here's 3 things to look for if you want to find a terrific wife. The first thing is that she wants to be your partner. My mother helped my father's business succeed. When he wanted to start a landscaping business in Kansas City with only 3 people to work with him, one of them is his brother and one's his best friend, my mom stepped in, ran the books, and did absolutely everything she could to help him succeed. And my wife does the same thing for my business. Number 2, she's not perpetually online, right? If she's got more followers than you on there, that's a red flag. But if she says that she'd give it all up, all of those followers and those social media accounts for you, that's a big green flag and a good sign that she's ready to commit. The third thing that you want to look for in a wife, and this is very important, is that she should be totally hot, because that way you also have attractive kids. There you go. Hey guys, what do you think? Thank you very much, Joni Rankin, for the tip. We appreciate that. She says, we'll donate time for your documentaries, some experience in front of camera, voice, and behind the scenes. Good. Thank you very much for that, Joni. And I will absolutely consider that once we start to begin post-production. Right now I'm in pre-production. We start shooting at the end of July. Pretty excited. Quest Fanning says, I'll have you on the radio tomorrow. We'll be able to chat during the latter part of the show. He'll be driving. We will miss you, Quest, but we are excited to see you for the upcoming Cantina Crew reunion get-together. Stephanie will give you more details about that. We're going to have a big float trip coming up soon. Hopefully it starts to rain so that we can actually have some water, because right now, instead of a float, it feels like it's going to be more of a damp walk because the water levels are so low. So pray for rain if you're a praying type. And if you are a praying type, also pray for me on this documentary. I'm super nervous about it. Hopefully it goes well. I'll do my best to make it worth your time and your money and your energy. I hope that you feel as if the Wake Up America show is worth your time and your money and your energy, and you're getting out of it what you get out of it. Tolly Owens says, we have gotten our money's worth and then some. It's obvious you care about quality across the board. Absolutely. And I care about you, my friends, like Sarah Palacios, Chris Morrill, Tolly Owens, Doug H., Quest Fanning, Matt Unruh, Joni Rankin, Hikaru K, Barney Styles, Studio 314, that's John Burrows. Did I already say Matt Unruh? I think I did. John Turner here with us today. Looking for some new names. Did I say Doug H? What about Thulu over on Rumble, Nelson65, Levin 2214, Kermode Bear, David Bell, Bell R, all of our friends over on Rumble as well. It's nice to see you all. Don't forget to click that like button. And if you enjoyed the content today, make sure you click make sure you click that subscribe button as well. It's time for me to go. It's been a fantastic morning, and we'll see you tomorrow with my lovely wife, Stephanie Peterson from Family Friday, and the godfather of the modern right, Gavin McInnes. It's going to be a great show tomorrow. You don't want to miss it, so you better click that subscribe button. We'll see you tomorrow on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Hmm.